And next is going to be Still Ain't Dead, The Ex-Wife Odyssey, book number 1, written by J.T. Harrington. It is 231 pages, $2.99. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. And here's the author's description. Rory Quinn is a New York police officer that enjoys chasing women, hard drinking, and beating the crap out of bad guys. He's used to waking up with hangovers that leave most people curled around a toilet. But that all changes after one drunken night of revelry. Instead of a bathroom floor, he wakes up to find he's been dead for 500 years. And if that ain't enough, everything new is long gone. Zombies, cataclysmically evil robots, and techno-demons seem to be the least of his problems, as they all pale in comparison to his crazy, immortal ex-wife. This is a LitRPG story. So there we go. Nice description. That does actually a really good job of describing most of the main conflicts. This is a sci-fi take on the RPG reincarnation trope. The main character has been dead for hundreds of years and is brought back into a synthetic body with an RPG interface and upgrade system. He's tasked with exploring a dangerous and possibly contaminated Earth surface after the AI lost contact with its creators. While the story starts out fairly earnest and serious, it turns into this quirky slice of life exploration story, looking at what the planet has become after like 500 years, and with a lot of satirical pulls from a bunch of post-apocalyptic films and books. But most of the story really is just like you following the main character. As he gets into trouble, he kills his way out of the trouble, and he just goes on these weird kind of quirky exploration journeys. His AI companion is actually a nice little addition in that it creates their relationship is actually really nicely developed. They have this banter between them that feels very natural and is very entertaining. And I will say though that there is a very specific kind of humor in the story, and if it lands with you, I think you're really going to enjoy this. It didn't land with me, unfortunately, and so I still like the story, but I don't think I don't like it as much as if the humor lands with you. So if I think you're actually with this more if you get the jokes and if they just make you laugh. They for some reason just didn't, and then that's just the subjective nature of humor. Not just that the jokes are bad, it's just that it just didn't hit me for some reason. Maybe it was the day, you never know. The RPG stuff in the story, I forgot. There is one sex scene in the novel, so if that bothers you, it is at about the 42% mark. I think it's played for humor a little bit, but it also is semi-graphic. So if that's going to be an issue for you, you can skip that little like 5% mark of the story, and you don't really lose anything in the larger context of the story. The RPG stuff exists in this story. It is a LitRPG story. It takes on, again, this kind of sci-fi version of it, though. Main character has a synthetic body. That body has stats that can be upgraded. There are also slots for these mental powers. And there's a class-like module system that gives skills that can be upgraded. And main character can learn skills from either that list for that class or from like his past life. And you see the character sheet of this story fairly regularly. However, I wouldn't call this a crunchy LitRPG story. I'd say on the crunchy scale, it's probably on a scale of like 0, which is no numbers, to 10, which is numbers every single page. It's probably about a 4 on that particular scale. You see, again, the character sheet on a semi-regular basis, fairly regular rather, towards the end of like a chapter. But also you see the use of vitality to show like damage to the main character whenever he's in combat. But outside those things, there aren't really a ton of numbers. There is a description of like main character getting upgrades and everything, but that's really like the main character talking to himself or to his AI in that respect. But that happens fairly rarely, which again makes this a very good LitRPG story in that respect. Overall, I like this story. I do. I like the action. I like the exploration of this sci-fi world. There are some nice little speculative themes of what the world could be in 500 years if like things just went weird and wrong. And I think that they're well thought out as far as like that goes. And again, there is a serious note in the beginning of the story of like the first, I'd say 10% of the novel. And it kind of underplays how funny the story is going to be to some people, or at least how funny it tries to be. When I was reading, I was like, oh, that's a joke. But I wasn't laughing. And so I know like some other people who have written reviews like, this is absolutely hilarious and funny action adventure. And I'm like, yeah, I like the action adventure. The humor didn't land with me, but I could see how if the humor landed with you, this would be a much better story for you. For me, I still had a good time with it. I like the action, adventure, speculative nature. I like exploring this sci-fi story world. All very entertaining stuff. Good expansion of the RPG powers. They made sense. They're a little overpowered in some instances, but it made logical sense on how they're developed. So that's always good. And again, if you like the humor, if the humor lands with you, you're gonna like this probably a lot more than I did. So for me, it gets a score of 7.1 out of 10. I had a good time with it still. That still ain't dead. The Ex-Wife Odyssey, book number 1, with a score of 7.1 out of 10.